Welcome back to part 13 of setting up the Power Platform Centre of Excellence. In this video, we're going to discuss Audit Log Components. Now, this is an optional thing, and this is more for gathering the audit log data for unique users and launches for apps. So there are some prerequisites to this one. It's not as straightforward as some of the others, but that's what we're going to walk through in this video. So the first prerequisite is to ensure that the audit log is turned on because it isn't by default. So to do that, we can, obviously with a suitable account, but we find ourselves in compliance.microsoft.com. In the left-hand navigation, we've selected audit. And if this was not turned on, you can also turn it on via PowerShell, but if this wasn't turned on, there should be a button of sorts to turn it on. Now, just as a warning, if you're doing this all in one hit, as in turning it on as well, you will more than likely hit an issue where it's not been fully initialized when we get to one of the later stages of starting the subscription. So if that is the case, obviously, by all means, configure everything that we're about to show, but don't be disheartened if starting the subscription doesn't work straight away. 9 times out of 10, it'll just be a question of waiting and starting it later on. You'll also need to be a global admin to configure the Azure AD app registration element of this, and your tenant must have a subscription that supports audit logging. So the next thing we're going to do is take a look at the app registration we need. So I didn't create this for Dataverse for Teams because the audit log solution is not available for Dataverse for Teams, but you would come to portal.azure.com, you would search for or select app registrations, you would create a new app registration, you would go with the defaults, you would then come down to API permissions, add a permission, and you would be looking for Office 365 management APIs, which is this one here, delegated, and then this activity feed.read. Add that permission and then click on grant admin consent so you get the green tick next to it. With that permission in place, you're going to want to either have a certificate or secret to authenticate this. So in our case, we have a secret. Just to call out for best practice, ideally you would manage your secrets by way of an Azure Key Vault. So with the secret in place, with the secret value copied, and making use of copying the application client ID and directory tenant ID, we can make use of those details to configure the custom connector that's required. So coming on over to the custom connector, we'll find ourselves at make.powerapps.com. We're then going to click on Expand Dataverse, click on Custom Connectors, except ensure that you're in the context of the right environment. And here we have our Office 365 Management API connector. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in to edit that connector. And because I've already updated and saved this connector, it looks like some of these details are blanked out, but that's just what it does. But essentially, you're going to take your client ID, pop it in there. You're going to take your secret, paste it in there. Ensure that you've got OAuth 2 and Azure Active Directory, and you should be able to leave the login URL as per the default. Tenant ID, you should be able to leave as common. Resource URL may be slightly different depending on what type of environment you're in, but it will more than likely be https://manage.office.com. And then basically once you've saved it, it will generate this redirect URL, which you'll copy. And to save it, you'll click on Update Connector. You'll take that redirect URL. You'll come into Overview, click on Redirect URIs. You'll go to Add a Platform, specify Web as the type, enter in that URL that we've just copied from the custom connector, and you should be good to go. A telltale sign that that's not configured is you would get to the point of testing your custom connector, creating a new account. You'll probably get as far as specifying credentials, but then the redirect won't successfully occur and you'll get an error of some kind. And that's normally, for me, the telltale sign that the redirect URI is either not specified or incorrect. So the next crucial bit you're going to want to do is to start a subscription to Audit Log content. So to do that, we can make use of the start subscription operation of this custom connector. And here we'll need to enter some information. Now, if memory serves me correct from when I did this, a bit of a gotcha was that the publisher identifier, I believe, is actually, in fact, just see if I can work it out from that 4D6. Yeah, it's the client ID, and the tenant is the ID of the directory, Azure AD tenant ID. With that information displayed, we can then do it. In fact, I'll fill it in now, because all it will do, if you've already done this previously, is it should just give us a message to say you've already started the subscription. So let's just, hold on, I'm just thinking if I need to specify anything else. Let's give it a go. Yeah, so that isn't really an error. You should get a success the first time you do it. If you were to do it again, it'll just say the subscription is already enabled, no property change. So that's all well and good. The next thing is that there's going to be some flows that are going to make use of this, and this is where we need to bring in another solution. So up until now, we've been working with the Center of Excellence core components, then we moved on to the governance components, and now we need to introduce the audit logs components. So if you've been following along, you won't have this up until this point. And if that's the case, all you need to do is come into your respective Power Platform environment that you're setting up the Center of Excellence in, click on Solutions in the left-hand navigation, click on Import Solution, Browse. We're then going to go to our COE starter kit file that we've got. Apart from, I don't want to do that entire zip, I want the extracted one. So I'm just going to find an extracted instance of it. And we're going to locate the one that is called Center of Excellence Audit Logs _ version number _ managed. So it would be something like this. However, we've already got it, and we're not going to go through the process of updating components at the moment. So we're just going to leave this as is. Now you have that solution, and we've come into the audit logs solution. We've clicked on cloud flows on the left, and you'll see that there's two cloud flows. So as the name suggests, you're going to want to start the child one first, I believe, and then the one without child in the name. And that pretty much is all that you need to do. Just some call outs. There are some like kind of chunking. You can get the audit log data in smaller chunks, and you can control this by way of environment variables. So let's just take a look at that. If we go into the core components, and once this is loaded, we'll click on apps in the left-hand navigation, and we're looking for the admin command center app. So we'll just go to this menu just to ensure it's playing it. By default, it would edit it if it was an unmanaged solution, but because it's managed, it probably would have played anyway. I'm going to pretend I didn't see that error for the sake of this video. We're going to click on our setup icon, and here I'm going to look for, let's try start. So all of the start time interval, start time unit, these are in relation to collecting the audit log data. It's also worth calling out that this will only be collecting data from the point in which it is configured. However, historic data will be available for up to a year in the audit log, which you can access by way of something like Microsoft Purview, or you can manually load the historic data into the tables that the COE kit uses to make that older data available alongside the currently and newly collected data. So I will reference the documentation that describes those environment variables and viewing historic audit log data further in the description of this video. So we're going to leave it there. Next, we're going to set about setting up the Power BI dashboards. Thank you for watching.